Hi, today I'm going to cover 5 ways to get out of hard money loans. This video is exclusively recorded for real estate bees, and I'm Mohit Anchlia at Quick Easy Lending. We provide hard money loans, we lend nationwide. So let's dive right into it and talk about this topic in detail. You always need to have an exit strategy with hard money, right? Because hard money is short term with higher interest rates, right? So you want to have an exit strategy in place because end of that term, the terms typically is 12 months or 18 months because that's the right balance between the borrowing the money with the costs involved and the time it's going to take for you to do the repair and being able to have either sell the property or rent the property, right? So that much time is typically required. Now, with that, obviously, need to have a good exit strategy in place. So, what are those 5 ways or top 5 ways of getting out of hard money loans? The number one is refinance the loan. Now, what does it mean, refinance the loan? Refinancing the loans mean that you look at a more conventional, traditional lender who can convert that loan into a more traditional loan with the lower interest rate. So that's the first strategy that you go after. You find a traditional loan who specialize in commercial real estate properties, either rental properties, fix and flip properties, and convert it into a more conventional loan and can do a little bit longer long-term loan as well on that. Now, the second option is also doing SBA loans. Now, you can do SBA loans in order to also refinance the property. So those are the top 2 ways you go about refinancing the properties and get out of the hard money loan and hard money funding, because hard money, obviously, as I mentioned, is higher interest rate. The more of the traditional and conventional loans are going to come with a lower interest rate, and you won't have this problem of, okay, I'm reaching my short term and then I need to have this balloon payment that's going to be due at the end. So that's the first way of doing it. Now, there are other ways that you do that as well, right? So what you can do is that if you're not able to find that lender who is going to fund that, or something else has changed in your situation, then the second way you would do is basically what you do is you sell your property or your deal as is. So you take the deal, you have the deal, and then you go identify the investors, right? So you have a lot of investors are looking for the properties, right? But you would ask, okay, why would investor would want to buy my deal? That's a fair question. But at the same time, the investors, they don't really they don't really want to invest in the property and do the repairs, right? They want to reap the profit as quickly as possible. So if you have something that's already ready, that's already interesting, and let's say your property you bought at 50,000 is now maybe at 60,000, so they see a value that, okay, I'm getting this property for 50,000, work has been done, and I can basically just buy the property and I get the equity in the property. At the same time, it's a good deal for me, and they see that as a good deal. So you can find those investors. There are. It also goes with your relationship, right? So if you have been in this business for a long time, and if you have relationships out there, you can reach out to them, or come to one of the lenders. Like, we also help with finding the investors, and there are other lenders as well who could help. You just need to find the connection and make that deal with them. Now, the third way is that you can always do something called as deed in the lieu of foreclosure, right? So what you do is you ask your lender for a deed in lieu of foreclosure, right? So what does that mean? So if you have a lender, you have gone through step one, step two, preferably step one, because then end of the day, you're working hard for your deal, you'll be able to generate the cash flow. If not, step two. Now, step three is next step that you would take if nothing else works, is that you go to your lender and you say that that you keep the property, and I'll forfeit all the payments I've made so far, right? And then what that means is that you ask the lender to not foreclose on the property. Now, why would you want to do that? The reason you would want to do that is because you just do not want to foreclose on the property, because that is going to impact your credit score. It will drop your credit score really in a big time. It could be 100 to 200 points straight drop, and then that goes on your record. And then when that goes on your record, it also makes it difficult for you to continue to do this business, because the lender's not going to want to lend to you if they see that record in the credit report. So you want to stay away from that. So you ask your lender and try to make a deal with the lender. Now, why would lender would be interested in that? Because of the reasons that that they know your position, they know the market, and if they see that market is really good and deal is really good, and they'll be able to get the property in the market and able to sell the property, foreclose it afterwards, or whatever they do afterwards, that they'll be able to make a good deal out of it. So they'll be really interested in that. But if your property has depreciated, is not a good condition, and if it's not a good deal, they may not do this. But that's something, that's one of the options that you should definitely try. Now, the next one is, and you could debate, you want to do the next one first or the previous one first, but the next one is really asking for help from your family and friends. So essentially, the way this works is that you create some sort of a business plan, you put the numbers together, you show the potential of what you're doing, right? Because you want to go to your family and friends not when it's a losing deal, where you also have to consider that you're asking for a favor. You also want to make sure that you're presenting them a good deal with a good conscience, and you want to make sure that that you're providing all the information necessary. So what you do is you create a business plan, you write all the steps, you approach your family members and friends, and then ask for all the funding that you need, showing how good it's going to be in the future, right? So you provide them, okay, the property price is this much right now, I'm going to do the repairs, and at the end I'll be able to sell this property for this much, and then when that happens, that would be the payoff, and my intention is to pay you off by this time. You could also additionally provide some benefit associated with that, because they are lending their money. So that's another one of the other options. Now, that really depends obviously on several factors, but that is one of the option that you should obviously keep that in mind, because that's always a good option, right? Instead of just working hard and towards the end finding it really difficult to do it, because it could be various reasons, right? The construction budget went high, there could be X number of factors that may happen because of that. Now, the fifth option is that you just default on the property. Now, you decide to default on the property. Let's say you couldn't find any other option. Now you have to default on the property. You go ahead and let's say default. What is the process? The process is that it's going to go into a foreclosure. Now, what happens first? The first thing is that lender always has what's called as the default interest rate. So when you default, the interest rate for the short term jumps, maybe doubles. Maybe it's if it's 14%, it might become 28%, 29%, whatever that is there in the deal. And that's for the short term. And that is done so that they can create that pressure on you to come clean on this funding, right? And if you don't do that, if you're not able to do that, then they're going to foreclose. Now with foreclosure, it just depends on how long it takes. It also depends on the jurisdiction, what state you are in, what courts are saying. But typically, it goes into foreclosure. So that is the process of foreclosure. Now, that is the last step. I hope nobody runs into that. Downside of that step is because it shows that the money was borrowed irresponsibly. It goes on your credit report, and lenders are very wary of it. Going forward, if you want to be in this business, it becomes really difficult to get the loan. And even if you do get the loan, it's going to be small amount of loan, small LTV, and you'll have to come up with higher down payment to show that you have skin in the game. So that's what happens with that. So essentially, yeah, those are the 5 steps. And what, as a learning, always, right, you always want to learn and see, okay, it has happened this time, but I do not want this to happen next time. And for that, you just apply those learnings from the day one. Have a really good plan. Have a really good plan, have a really good support, and make sure that you're ahead of the game. A lot of the times this happens is because it just is human nature that we assume that things are just going to work out. But when you're taking a hard money loan, do not assume things will just work out. Stay on top of the game, stick to the budget, stick to your plan, do thorough analysis, and then always have an exit plan going into it. Don't be caught by surprise. And so that's it for today. Hope this video was helpful. Thank you.